In 1943, World War II had reached its most brutal phase in the Pacific. The United States Army Air Forces were carrying out long-range patrol missions, searching for lost aircraft and hunting Japanese submarines across thousands of miles of open water. The B-24 Liberator, large, heavy, and notoriously unreliable, was the aircraft assigned to one young airman, Louis Zamperini. On May 27, 1943, Louis and his crew took off on a search and rescue mission. Their task: find a missing American plane somewhere in the vast Pacific. What happened next would turn Louis's life into one of the greatest survival stories of World War II. The B-24 they were given, nicknamed the Green Hornet, was already known as unsafe. Maintenance logs reported multiple engine failures. But with no other aircraft available, the mission had to continue. 2 hours after takeoff, disaster struck. Engine number 1 began to shake violently. Engine number 2 overheated. The aircraft lost altitude. Fast. Louis shouted, "Brace for impact." Seconds later, the B-24 slammed into the Pacific Ocean at nearly 170 miles per hour. Out of 11 men on board, only 3 survived: Louis Zamperini pilot Russell Allen Phillips and tail gunner Francis McNamara. The survivors climbed onto 2 small life rafts. Their remaining supplies were shockingly small: a few chocolate bars, 6 hard candies, 2 small cans of water, a fishing kit, a flare gun, a scrap of canvas. This was all they had in the largest ocean on Earth. For the first day or two, they believed rescue would come. By day 5, that hope faded. No planes, no ships, no signs of life. In the Pacific, if you drift off course, you disappear. The Pacific sun blistered their skin by day. The cold winds froze them at night. But the most terrifying threat came from below. Sharks, Galapagos, sharks and tiger sharks began circling the rafts. First a few, then dozens. They bumped the raft, brushed against it, waiting for someone to slip into the water. Louis fought them off with his bare hands. Phillips used an oar. The sharks didn't leave. They followed the rafts for weeks. But hunger and thirst were far worse. Salt water burned their mouths. Their bodies weakened every hour. Hallucinations began creeping in. Yet the men held on. On day 27, a Japanese bomber appeared overhead. Louis thought just for a moment that rescue had arrived. But instead, the aircraft swooped low and opened fire. Machine gun rounds tore through the rafts. Bullet holes punched through the rubber. Water flooded in. Louis and Phillips rolled into the ocean, dodging both gunfire from above and sharks lunging from below. When the attack ended, it was nothing short of a miracle. Not one of them had been hit. They patched the raft as best they could and kept drifting. By day 33, tail gunner Francis McNamara could no longer endure the hunger, dehydration, and sun exposure. His strength collapsed. His spirit followed. McNamara died quietly on the raft. Louis and Phillips performed a simple burial at sea, lowering their friend into the water and watching him disappear below the waves. His death reminded the 2 survivors of how close they were to the same fate. From day 34 to day 45, the raft drifted along the north equatorial current. They survived on rainwater caught in canvas, fish caught with improvised hooks, seabirds that landed on the raft. Louis was reduced to skin and bone. Phillips could barely see. Both were barely conscious at times, but they refused to give in. On the 47th day, they finally saw something they had begun to believe they would never see again: land, a small island in the Marshall Islands. Louis broke down in tears. Phillips lifted his head for the first time in days. But when they reached shore, their ordeal took an unexpected turn. It wasn't Allied territory. It was a Japanese-controlled island. Within minutes, Japanese soldiers surrounded them. After surviving the Pacific, the 2 men were taken as prisoners of war, beginning yet another brutal chapter of suffering. But that is another story. 47 days on the world's most unforgiving ocean. 47 days battling hunger, thirst, bullets, storms, and sharks. 47 days of endurance that defied every expectation. The story of Louis Zamperini is not just the story of a crash survivor. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the darkest hours of war. This was another forgotten story of World War II.